Alrighty, welcome back, everyone, to the Second Take podcast. My name is Casey.
And my name is Alex. Welcome back, and let's get into another episode.
Yeah, so, as we've said before, we are part of the George Washington Sports Business Association. Anything you could be looking to find about the organization can be found on our Instagram, which is GWUSBA, as well as our Linktree, which you can find online. And we're back after a 2-week hiatus. Yeah, 2-week hiatus. We had some spring break. Everyone got some nice relaxation time, and there's been a lot going on. NFL free agency, the World Baseball Classic, some surprising performances in the NBA. So we're going to touch on all that today. And I think I'd say a good place to start is probably the fact that Bam Adebayo dropped 83 points.
Yeah. And
What? What?
It still kind of feels surreal to say because this is now the highest recorded basketball game that you can go on and find a video of.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the most of all time.
Well,
I don't think the Wilt game ever happened.
we might disagree on that front, but also because I'm a Wilt Chamberlain truther, because my granddad played basketball with him in high school.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's kind of a side tangent, but point being, regardless of whether or not you believe in Wilt, this is the highest scoring NBA game you could go out and watch tomorrow. And there's a lot of controversy going around it, but I think the fact that it's Bam Adebayo, it just kind of speaks volumes about the NBA that we're in today because no discredit to Bam. He's an unbelievable player. Honestly, a perennially underrated player in the NBA, a top 3 center.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think if you polled NBA executives and players and asked who is the most likely in the league to have an 83-point game, I don't think he'd fall in the top 50 of that.
I don't think he'd fall in the top 75. I mean, before that game, he was averaging around, I want to say 18 points, and now he's up to 20. But it's just, I don't really know what to make of it.
Yeah.
I really don't. I also saw a tweet right after. It was like, this game's so funny because he's about to give you a calm 28-3 his next game, and he put up 21-8-2, followed by 27-1. But no disrespect to Bam, I was astonished by his performance, but I was also very impressed. Now, a lot of it was free throws, but I was looking at every play where he's getting fouled, and some of them are those kind of BS NBA calls that you kind of see in today's game. But I mean, he was making good shots, and they were also triple teaming him. So
yeah, it's definitely, it's no fault to Bam Adebayo. You take what the defense gives you, but just to read off some numbers to you here, he was 20 and 43 from the field, which is for the record the first under 50% field goal shooting night from a 70-point game in NBA history. Right? Which, it's not that crazy. If we probably go back and look at what Kobe had on his 81-point game, you probably saw some similar splits, an insane amount of shots and maybe not the most efficient night.
Yeah.
But a lot of these other 70-point games, I think to Luka Doncic against the Hawks, where he was just straight points, or Joel Embiid against the Spurs, which he did in 3 quarters. This just doesn't have the same alert to it, especially you look over 7 for 22 from 3, yeesh. 36 for 43. From the free throw line, both of which are records in attempts and makes. It's just, this is disgusting. And I'll be the first to say I haven't done my due diligence and watched every single point of this game, every single foul, to really have the hard stance on it. But shout out to Bam for just going for it. But I think there's definitely a little bit of weird stuff going on with how the Heat players prolonged this game with intentional fouls. Now the Wizards seem to just foul them over and over and over again. It's kind of strange.
I think the thing that stands out to me most is that no one on the Wizards even fouled out.
Right.
No one. But that also is due to the fact that they only play their starters for about 18 minutes a game, if even. And I think what this game does say, it kind of points to the broader issue going along with tanking in the NBA. I mean, take a look at, it wasn't this game, it was the game after. Bilal Coulibaly hit a game-tying 3 with 5 seconds left for the Wizards, and they panned to the bench, and everyone's kind of just sitting there everyone's pissed. I don't know. There's very obvious problems at hand. It's just, I feel before this year, it was not this obvious.
Right.
I blame the Pacers. I'm pretty biased, but and people can have their own takes. But there's other teams like the Jazz, the Kings tried, but they just sucked. So they were all right, we give up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It's getting bad. I mean, the Wizards are clearly trying to tank for a good pick. Trae Young is sitting games where he's healthy. I don't know. I think that's where the foul play comes. But shout out Bam Adebayo. And one more thing we want to touch on is the World Baseball Classic. So there's been outstanding performances across the board from all these different countries, all these teams competing so hard. You have players coming out saying that this means more to them than the World Series, which is something I didn't think that people, would be talking about. But I mean, it's been really, really cool to see. You got teams like the DR who are just blowing it up. I mean, I know they lost to the US, but I mean, they put on such a show. And you have teams like Italy who are making way more of a run than I would have expected. I mean, Vinny Pasquantino might be like the MVP of the tournament right now. He saved the United States. Like, it's been crazy. It's been really fun to watch, honestly. This is the first one I've really like sat down and like actually watched a few games. And it has just been so entertaining.
No, it's been awesome, and I think, you know, the more threat there is to the U.S., the more entertaining it is to us as fans, even though, you know, we kind of take those wins for granted. Granted, we didn't even win the last tournament. But yeah, there's been a lot of really fun storylines, like with how loaded this Dominican Republic lineup was and how they just kind of got snuffed last night after a really incredible Junior Caminero home run. But I do think the major storyline here, which we're hoping to continue tonight, is Italy's kind of Cinderella run. Weren't even expected to make it out of the group stage, end up winning their group, and now have a chance to make it to the finals. And they made the change this morning. Aaron Nola is going to come in and pitch tonight instead of Michael Lorenzen for Italy.
Okay.
And he was lights out in his last start. And I'm just as an Italian American, I'm looking forward to maybe having a USA Italy final because I cannot lose. You know, I'm happy. But if I'm being honest, my heart's kind of with this Italy team. You know, it's so corny and stereotypical with the espresso machine. You know, the announcers bring it up every second, but there's just kind of a magic with this team, and they're just having fun. I think that's kind of the beauty of the WBC. And I think that's why a lot of teams are really getting into it because guys like Vinny Pasquantino, Jack Caglione, who couldn't make it onto the USA roster, have a chance to kind of, you know, go crazy on these rosters of their own, and it really serves as kind of a resume builder for some of these younger players.
Yeah, no, I think it's been amazing. And that USA DR game, much more of a pitching battle than I thought. I mean, a lot of these games have been, you know, high-scoring shootouts, but that was more of a pitching duel, and like I said, it was cool to see, and you know the U.S. takes the win. And they said for the final, they're actually giving Noel McLean that final start, which is
very questionable.
Understandable, I guess. I don't know because he kind of got shelled in his last go.
Yeah,
that was against Italy, right? When he gave up like 3 home runs.
Yeah, it was. It was the game where Italy he got shelled.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's gonna be exciting to see. And next week's episode, we'll definitely have an update on the final. So stay tuned for that because that's going down tomorrow night. Now, the bulk of this episode is going to be committed to NFL free agency. This has been, I'd say, one of the wilder ones in recent years. Lot of, I'd say more so defensive players moving around and receivers. There hasn't been too many shakeups at the running back position overall. Like that one-off season with Saquon, Derrick Henry.
Right.
But the QB carousel has been super interesting, and there's a lot to go over. So I guess a good starting point. The DJ Moore trade to the Bills. I think it was a good deal. I think that the Bills, you know, needed to do something like this. But do I think DJ Moore is the answer? Do I think he's good enough to be that number one X receiver? I don't know. We've seen what DJ Moore can do, and he's never had a fantastic QB in his career. You could make the argument that Caleb Williams last year was probably the best QB he's ever played with, and he didn't do that much, but you know, there's an argument to be made. Maybe he was kind of out on the Bears. You saw a lot of times he'd quit on plays. You see a lot of times where he's just not being an outstanding teammate, and you know, you can point to the fact that maybe he's not happy with his role, you know, with Rome Odunze kind of popping up and Luther Burden maybe taking some of his snaps. But I do think that on the Bills, he should go for, I would say, at least 1,200 yards.
He should.
It is an offense that spreads the ball around, but I mean, last time Josh Allen had a certified X receiver, which I don't know if I'd call DJ Moore that anymore. In that role, he will be an X receiver. And as someone who hates the Bills, I am actually pretty excited to see what comes of this, because it's just fun when a good quarterback like gets a good receiver.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you're due to get some big plays, and I like Josh Allen, so I'm happy he finally has someone to throw to.
Yeah. I absolutely agree, and I feel like it's a point we hammer in on, especially we use it as a talking point for the Bills, and it feels like Josh Allen finally got a guy, because DJ Moore, say what you want about how his athleticism has fell off, he's always just been such a reliable Swiss Army knife, and specifically for the Bears, even though that relationship kind of divorced over the year, he was so clutch. Like I'm thinking specifically that game winner in overtime, that was DJ Moore. They called his number.
Yep.
I'm thinking years back the PJ Walker Hail Mary to DJ Moore.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was him. He's a clutch guy, and I do think he plays a similar brand of football to Stephon Diggs, maybe less emphasis on the route running, and more so just on like the entire field coverage. But I've always been
they have Shakir for those kind of
exactly
situations,
right. It's
he doesn't get enough respect in my opinion.
He doesn't, and he finally Khalil Shakir doesn't have to try to muster wide receiver 1 duties. He could do what he does best, which is catch 95% of the targets that come towards him and, take him for big yardage, right? So I will admit I'm a lot higher on DJ Moore than most, but I really like this trade for the Bills. Maybe the price was a little rich for DJ Moore. Like, I think it was a second and some supplementary picks, but all in, that's really not that crazy. And also, I do think that the Bears needed to move on from him. You want to let Luther Burden and Ruben Odunze, go ahead, and clearly, DJ Moore was kind of getting phased out, even though I think I was personally frustrated because I thought they kind of gave Rome Odunze DJ Moore's responsibilities in the offense. So why not just move him? You get some picks back, and they'll fill out with some nice offensive players. So I like this trade for both sides, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. And then moving on, a trade that didn't happen, Max Crosby to the Ravens. I mean, there's been so much buzz going around about, like, oh my God, like the Ravens like really screwed him over, blah, blah, blah. And I do agree. Like, I like at first, he fails the physical, but he's also rehabbing from a major injury. And on top of that, a report came out that while Max Crosby was in the Ravens facility, they signed Trey Hendrickson. They were both in the building at the same time, and they didn't. And Max Crosby had no idea. He was a dead man walking, and they didn't tell him. It's bad sportsmanship. It's bad professionalism. I'm sure Raiders fans are happy because now they're saying they're going to keep him, and then he wants to stay. But I think that might be smoke. I do actually think there's going to be a new team that's going to come for Crosby because. I will say, I do actually think the Raiders have done well this offseason. They know they have a new QB coming in. They have Genty, so they kind of have those two cornerstones of the offense that they can plan around. And while they didn't do much to address the receiver position, I could, foresee them either, taking someone in the draft, taking some flowers on rookies, maybe going out and getting a vet that's still in the market. But I think that the Raiders are positioning themselves for success maybe a few years down the road. However, I think Max Crosby's timeline doesn't really line up there, which is why I do still think that they're going to trade him, especially because they can probably get 2-3 first rounders for him. I mean, I think he's, I want to say 27, 28. He's not 30 yet. I'm very confident about that. And, with an edge rusher, you're still getting a solid.
It's 28.
28. He still has a solid, I'd say 3-4 more years in his prime, depending on how he returns from this injury. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes in terms of predictions. I have no clue, but that whole trade was such a disaster, and I don't think that the Ravens made off nearly as well off as they could have been. It'll be nice saving that draft capital, but on the books, you have a big contract for Trey Hendrickson, $30 million a year for a guy who's 31 for 4 years.
Yeah,
it's a lot of stock to put in someone who is not going to be there for, I would say, more than 2 to 3 seasons of that contract.
Yeah, I agree. And to kind of touch on what you said with the Raiders here, I absolutely agree that they should be searching for another suitor because he doesn't really fit their timeline. Also, they operated this offseason on the assumption that they wouldn't have Max Crosby's contract on their books. So that's why they signed all these players to these lucrative contracts, especially like guys like Nakobe Dean that really got priced out of their preferred destinations just because teams like the Raiders had the money to offer them.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to find that difficult now. That the alleged excuse for the Ravens canceling the trade is Max Crosby failing his physical. So it is kind of scummy on the Ravens part. It is a business, but I feel like teams aren't going to be willing to shell out those 2 first-round picks, which was their asking price anymore.
Yeah.
But allegedly, the Ravens do have a history of doing this. I think they did the same thing with Michael Crabtree. They canceled a trade for a receiver when they found out like a player was available. Apparently, they do have a history of doing this, and I imagine this is kind of just like a skeevy business tactic where they traded for Max Crosby, and then somehow, some way, maybe that affects Trey Hendrickson's market. And then when a better deal for him materializes, it sounds like it materialized before they even canceled the trade.
Yeah.
They canceled it. It's something that should be investigated in my opinion. Not that it's it's not the end of the world. But I do think it's pretty terrible to Max Crosby to go out, send out 2 first-round picks to acquire a guy, send him home, and then sign his replacement while he's in the same building. It's pretty messed up, and there is something to be said about how the rest of the offseason occurred just based off the one fact that this trade occurred, how the Raiders conducted themselves this offseason, maybe how other teams offered certain amounts of money or certain amounts in the trade offers. It changed everything. And then for that to just kind of be pulled out from under the NFL, I think it's something that should be, even though it was allowed, they could cancel the trade for any reason they want until it was official. I still think it's something that should be kind of looked at. It's kind of skeevy.
I think so too. And Like I said, I still think the Raiders are in a good spot. They made a lot of good offseason acquisitions on the defensive side of the ball, and they got Linderbaum, which will be good for the long term. He's only 25, and they have a guy up front who can help protect Mendoza. Because this first year, it's about letting him get his reps in, let him get comfortable. The more time he has to throw, even if it's to plumbers, is still worth it. And another trade, while we're on the subject of throwing the ball, Michael Pittman Jr. to the Steelers, outstanding deal for a 6th-round pick for a guy who I think is very talented. Has outside of, I think he had one bad year. I remember I think I might have had him in fantasy. Either way, last year he was good. Most of his career, he has been a very reliable wide receiver one on offenses that just haven't been that inspiring. And I think that on the Steelers, well, I don't think it's the best fit for him. Like the deal they got, you can't really pass that up. However, I do feel like him and DK play a somewhat similar role. Because those guys are slot guys. And it's nice having 2 guys on the outside. But every Steelers offseason is kind of just like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Right.
They still don't have an answer to the QB position. And they're looking at, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, we're going to go for Kirk Cousins. Why? Why would you do that? It's he's a veteran bridge QB. That's all they've had essentially since Ben Roethlisberger, outside of Kenny Pickett, but he's Kenny Pickett. Yeah. So I don't once again, I don't think the Steelers are going to do anything. So the trade itself doesn't move that much, but good deal for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think just in terms of the cost, it was basically they downgraded from a 6th-round pick to a 7th, right? And they get back Michael Pittman Jr., immediately extend him. It is a bit of a hefty contract on their books for this year, which is the reason I imagine why the Colts wanted to make this deal to clear up money for another deal, which we'll definitely talk about. But I think there's a chance that this works out. You're right that Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf, they kind of play similar brands of like the physical, like possession guys.
Yeah.
But what there's a balance I'm hoping they could strike where DK Metcalf absurdly at like 99th percentile athlete, right?
Yeah.
Just can't catch a ball.
Can't.
But Michael Pittman Jr. is kind of just throw out he'll catch a ball between his biceps, if you remember that catch from last year.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. And what he lacks, there, he makes up for with possession, but he's also not very athletic whatsoever. So in my mind, there's a balance that you could strike where the one makes up for the other's weakness. But I did notice, I believe they lost Calvin Austin, really underrated receiver. I mean, you'll be able to find guys like that.
It's all right.
But I definitely worry a little bit. I think the fit's a little clunky.
Did he get picked up by someone?
I think he's a Giant. Don't quote me.
No, they got Oh no! He is a Giant. He's a Giant. Giants got someone else too. They got Mooney.
They got Darnell Mooney.
Darnell Mooney. Okay,
great signing.
I was gonna say when the Darnell Mooney signing happened, I was not that moved because I'm like, do you want that guy to be your number 2? Calvin Austin in that wide receiver room as well, especially with the addition of Isaiah Likely, which I think he'll be great in that offense. I think that letting him get unleashed more. Harbaugh clearly loves him. I think that the Giants offense is going to be better than I actually thought. I really like that Calvin Austin signing.
Yeah.
I really like that. I missed that. I've been talking, and I don't like the Giants. I grew up in an area of all Giants fans as a Jets fan. Not fun. Get bullied a lot. But I am excited to watch this Giants offense just because it's a lot of exciting young playmakers.
Yeah, and I would venture to say they had a great offseason. I mean, regardless of how you feel about John Harbaugh, he brought over some of his favorite guys from Baltimore. He brought over Likely, brought over the punter Jordan Stout, who they signed to a generational punter contract.
I saw that.
And I've seen they also went on and got a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, just a solid linebacker over the middle. They re-signed Jermaine Illuminor, who's a really, really good tackle. They got him a discount. And then Isaiah Likely is obviously the big fish here because we saw how much Jackson Dart loved using Theo Johnson last year. And Theo Johnson he's Theo Johnson. He's all right, right? Yeah. Isaiah Likely, we've been saying this kid is good, and he's going to be making enough money to justify him being the number 2 guy in this offense alongside Neighbors. So I think they did a lot of really exciting stuff. And I would tag the Giants as one of my favorite, not just free agencies, but off seasons in general, with how they've kind of just given this team an identity.
Yeah, I agree. I think they can run a lot of 2 tight end sets as well because Likely isn't a great blocker, but he can play out wide. He can play in 5 wide sets. He can play in 4 wide sets, or you can even do a 2 receiver set and have him run a route. Theo Johnson maybe stay back and block. I think that they just have a lot of versatility that they have with this offense if they stay healthy. And while I do think they maybe, I don't know how Scadaboo's going to look after this injury, but I think that it would be wise to invest in maybe, a third down change of pace back because, regardless of his injury, he's still gonna, do his normal thing, run between the sticks, put his head down, probably get a couple concussions, and not even realize.
Ugh.
But maybe if there's a slight dip in, his kind of cutting ability, then I think it would be wise to maybe invest in a, receiving back. But, they have time, they're young, they have cap space, so hats off to them. And there's one more trade, but we need to talk about it.
What we gotta talk about?
No, we don't need to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about the Jets? Geno homecoming?
No.
I mean, he's gonna start.
I'm aware Geno Smith is going to start. I want to preface, I think the Jets had a good offseason outside of the Geno Smith trade. Like, I'm very happy with the Minkah Fitzpatrick deal. We got him for essentially nothing. We addressed some spotty areas on defense. I'm happy with the Jermaine Johnson trade, just because he was going to get a bigger contract than we can afford, and I do think we're going to go with Arvil Reese at 2. So I'm happy we made space for him. We did go out and sign the DN, Joseph Asai,
right.
Asai, which I'm fine with. He's okay, but I think that's more of a rotational piece because, Salah's defense is gone, but Glenn kind of runs a similar thing where he likes to have a rotation of edges kind of coming in and out. Will McDonald's shown some, slight health concerns, but he's really good. I'm big on him. So outside of the Geno trade, very happy with what the Jets did. I think they're banking a little bit too much on getting a receiver at 16. I don't know if Jordan Tyson is going to be there. Carnell Tate probably won't be, but I don't know. I think bringing Geno in is essentially like that white flag of like, hey, we want to suck next year, but we're building some pieces that, could keep us competitive.
Right.
But they obviously know Geno Smith isn't the answer. There's plenty of other veteran QBs on the market. Like the Cardinals, for example, keeping Jacoby Brissett, re-sign him to a 1-year deal. That was exactly what I wanted the Jets to do. Someone, who's going to, go out there. We're going to suck, but it's going to be at least entertaining. Like Geno Smith, it's going to suck and it's not going to be entertaining.
Right.
Because we also lost Elijah Vera Tucker and John Simpson, both of our starting guards, and we didn't sign any. So I don't really know what the plan's going to be up front. We're probably going to trade Breece Hall. Garrett Wilson might request a trade. Who knows? But Geno Smith is back. Yay! So let's go get that first pick, guys.
Yeah, and I would say I like some of these under-the-radar signings for the Jets, too. Now, Sean Wright was incredible for the Bears last year.
Oh, my God. I was really happy about that.
And you got him for cheap, too.
Corner was an issue after we lost both our starters last year.
Right, and bringing in Minkah, too. Extend him for relatively, I think, like 12 to 13 million. Not bad.
Yeah, I think it was a 3 or 39.
Yeah,
which
he's still
I'm perfect
quality player, right? And then this is kind of more random, but Kene Nwangwu is an electric kick returner. So look, Jets fans, let's look out for some kick return touchdowns this year.
We do often have good special teams, so definitely excited for that. But moving on from the Jets, because no one cares about the Jets, I think we can just address the most alarming signing of the offseason, which was Alec Pierce for 4 years, $116 million.
Jesus Christ.
What is that?
He got paid.
But there's nothing that anyone in the entire planet could say. Alec Pierce himself could come up to me and explain to me why he deserves that money, and I would not agree with him.
Yeah.
He's young. He's, he just had 1,000 yards. Yeah. He based scraped by 1,000 yards. He's a good deep threat. Alec Pierce is not bad by any means. But the fact that Alec Pierce is making almost $30 million a year, I think Wan'Dale Robinson's better than Alec Pierce. And Wan'Dale Robinson's making 17 a year?
I think like 15 to 7.
I think he's making 17. I think it's a 4-year, 60, whatever it is. Either way, I thought the Wan'Dale Robinson deal was fine. You could say he's overpaid, but that's kind of just how the receiver market is these days. But this Alec Pierce deal is simply mind-boggling. I mean, I can't imagine what other team was willing to give him that amount of money.
Yeah.
That they had to, do this.
Yeah, and the only logical reason that would explain why the Colts would ever spend this much money is if another team raised the market to that point, which I could hypothetically see another team with an insane amount of cap space just throwing the money, if anything, just to squeeze, Indianapolis's head a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is a gross, disgusting overpay. Almost 70% of it is guaranteed. And you're really banking on him to become a wide receiver one. And he is an excellent deep threat. He's amazing at that.
That's about it.
But this is such a they were clearly desperate to keep some of the core pieces from last year's, like, Gears, Turner, Steichen offense together. But this is just kind of hemorrhaging themselves. And now they've paid Daniel Jones a ridiculous amount of money. They're going to be paying him $44 million a year with incentives that get him up to 50.
For a QB, I don't hate the Daniel Jones deal. He worked with that offense last year. In his first season there. Like, obviously it's way too much money for a Daniel Jones kind of caliber of player. But before he got hurt, like, outside of like a couple bad games where people are like, there's the old Daniel Jones, I genuinely do think he's pretty good.
He was fantastic.
And like, I think, with the QB market, it's kind of just what you have to do. But I just feel like putting all your eggs in one basket. I mean, this is clearly a team that's trying to compete now and, like, try and win a Super Bowl right now because, I mean, they gave Pierce the bag. They gave Daniel Jones the bag. They've traded this year's first and next year's first to the Jets for Sauce Gardner. You're kind of really banking on, like, making that run soon. And I think that they're being a little bit delusional with that 8-1 start. I believe they were 8-1.
Yeah.
Something like that. Either way, I really just don't get it, man. Yeah. I don't get it.
No, it's terrible. They've tied up essentially 2 first-round picks and $70 million per year now, and Alec Pierce, Daniel Jones, and Sauce Gardner. And I still think Sauce is a fantastic player, but injured the second he gets there. And even then, 2 firsts is a luxury that's way too high, in my opinion, for Sauce Gardner, because you essentially have no future, right? The NFL isn't really like the NBA where you could get major returns on these guys if they don't pan out because just of how the way draft picks are valued. So this is just a major gamble on like half a season of results. I know things, fall apart once Daniel Jones gets injured. And there's obviously something there, but I think this is way too early. And I would have to look at some other signings, but I feel like this Alec Pierce contract is pretty poor. Resoundingly the worst contract from this free agency.
Awful. And then before we get some offensive players, I just wanted to highlight, I think the Rams did an outstanding work this offseason. They got Trent McDuffie and they got Jalen Watson. They just took both Chiefs corners who were one of the best units in the league.
Just took them out
and just placed them in theirs. Yeah. And I know there's word of them like trying to go for AJ Brown, but like they don't have the facilities for that. But I think they just put themselves in a good spot just to, compete again next year. Just wanted to highlight that. But looking at some, I guess sexier things on offense, like Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. You got, a lot of QBs moving around, but I think we can start at Kenneth Walker and then go from there. I really like the fit. Just want to start out by saying that.
Right.
I've been saying for like a while that I think he's really good, just based off the eye test. He showed that in the playoffs. He really proved himself. I think he deserves that money. I'm happy for him. And it finally gives Mahomes, like, for the first time, I'd say in his entire career outside of that 1 year Kareem Hunt, an actual good running back.
Yeah. And
he hasn't had one since.
Yeah, it's obviously Kansas City trying to get back to what made them such a terrifying dynasty all those years ago, which is back when they used to have players who could actually run the ball, right? No offense to guys like Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde
disrespect to Isaiah Pacheco, he sucks. Disrespect to Kyle Edwards, he sucks.
They just didn't really pan out, right? But Kenneth Walker, proven play. The injuries are still a concern, but he showed in about half a season what full workload Kenneth Walker looks like.
Yeah.
They're continuing to build this offensive line, and obviously, the more a defense respects the pass, the easier it is to run on them, and I don't think any defense respects a passer more than Patrick Mahomes. So I really do like the fit for Kenneth Walker. As for the price, I really don't think this is crazy at all. 3 for 43, $14 million. To tie up $14 million, I mean, let's put this in context, right? Kenneth Walker could be a franchise-changing player for the Chiefs this year. He could rush for like 1,600 yards and then, catapult them into the deep playoffs, which they didn't even make this year.
Yeah.
In comparison, he's making half the money that the Colts are tying up in a player like Alec Pierce. That's why I think I think the running back position,
disgusting.
People want to say like it's getting overvalued. I think it's being undervalued right now. It's such an important, and we've seen teams, Eagles with the Saquon signing, Ravens with the Derrick Henry signing. I think this is the next signing in those lines of like running backs who are underappreciated, making a ton of money. I think this is the next line of signings, including guys like Christian McCaffrey as well, to really catapult a team to the next level.
Yeah, and I think it was you who actually nailed the Travis Etienne signing on the nose. Were you the one who said Saints?
I have no idea.
Someone said Saints for Etienne. That hadn't even crossed my mind, but I think it was a great signing. I think Etienne, he's not Kenneth Walker level, but he's a good back. and I think they signed him to about a similar deal. So
It's about like maybe 3 or 42, a little less than Ken Walker.
Did you see what he said? His last name is not pronounced Etienne.
Yeah,
it's pronounced
like Etienne.
like Etienne.
Etienne.
It's too late.
It's
too late.
It's Travis Etienne. We're gonna
It's
call
Travis
him
Etienne. Like
for
he
now.
wants people to
just
call
like
him
we say Bijan Robinson instead of Bijan.
Yeah,
right.
It's just you got to tell people off the jump. But good signing there. But sticking with the NFC South, what do you think about Tua to the Falcons?
I mean, if anything, it's hilarious. I wonder if there's ever been 2 left-handed quarterbacks on the same roster before. I would go further to say, I wonder if there's ever been 2 left-handed quarterbacks competing for the same starting job.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious, right? I can't imagine they have a lot of money tied up in him, right, because of what the Dolphins are paying him. So assuming that he's on just like this kind of cheap, maybe even like a vet min, like what Kyler's on, I don't see anything wrong with it. I just think, I mean, when we think about Tua's drawbacks as a player, and then you think about Michael Penix's drawbacks as a player, it's like it's the same injury repackaged under a new look.
Yeah.
Right? The same issues. Like Tua has all these concussions. Michael Penix has 3 cumulative ACL tears.
Yeah.
Right? 2 in one knee, 1 in the other.
Damn.
Right? It's similar durability concerns, similar issues about lack of athleticism and difficulty with reading the field. But if anything, for the cheap signing that it hopefully was, it gives Michael Penix some competition and just be like, come on, like
pick it up.
Because I do think he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he's really got the odds stacked against him. So I don't hate the Tua signing. I think it's hilarious that like the second Tua got cuts, like the Falcons are interested. The Falcons signed him. Like there wasn't even like a market for this guy. Like I don't think Tua's that bad.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's
should have been a Jet.
No. Like Geno Smith
fight with Geno for the starting job.
Geno, yeah, he'd probably win. Geno Smith sucks, but it's like I want us to be bad anyways. Like, what are we gonna go win the Super Bowl next year?
You should want to.
No, I want us to suck. I want us to literally not win a single game. And Geno Smith's pretty good at doing that. He just beat us in the Tankathon. So if you can't beat him, join him, I guess.
Yeah.
And
wants to lose more games.
I mean, you know how I feel about Tua. I think he's trash, but I also think that there was just some tension there between him and McDaniel that just like wasn't really working. And I honestly think he'll get that starting job over Penix just because I don't think Penix is good either. Like Tua, like look, he has multiple good seasons under his belt. Yeah. He's accurate, and does he show up when it matters? No, but it's never gonna matter for the Falcons. So like, it is what it is. But I am excited for what Drake London will come out of this like because I think he's top 7. I dare say higher. But moving on from that, what do you think about Kyler Murray to the Cardinals to the Vikings? I personally love the move because I think Kyler's great.
Yeah, I agree with you, right? Because I do still think, I mean, when we think about the Tua signing, it's like, all right, he's really like might be done and he might be out of the league by the time we're doing an episode next year, right?
Yeah.
But Kyler, it feels like he has so much left in the tank. And it's just a completely different situation from Tua, but I really like it for the Vikings for a similar reason as we kind of like the Tua to the Falcons. Like either JJ McCarthy, either pick it up or get out, right? Because he showed flashes, but the Vikings have enough good players on their roster right now that they need to be better than just okay.
I'm saying like they were literally one game out of making the playoffs.
Exactly,
they had a winning record,
right? And that Brian Flores defense is disgusting. Right?
It's crazy.
So bringing in a guy like Kyler for the vet minimum, like $1.5 million, and he has a chance to take over as your starting quarterback and provide you above average quarterback play, which he's more than capable of doing.
Yeah.
This is such an amazing signing for the Vikings.
He should start day one. I just want to make
that. Should.
If he doesn't start day one, then the Vikings are.
It should be the assumption that he has the job. JJ McCarthy did not earn that job last year. His replacement was so pitiful. But I really do like Kyler. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the connection with Jefferson because I'm thinking back to Kyler just chucking it downfield to Diop. It's kind of funny because he looks like a little kid just chucking it down
I know,
to Diop.
It's awesome.
And now you get to throw it to Justin Jefferson, who has, I'm not going to say equally as good hands, but they're up there with the likes of guys like D-Hop, in their heyday.
I think one thing that is bothering me is that like you see Kyler Murray go for a vet minimum $1.3 million, right?
Right.
So why is Kenny Pickett getting $4 million to be a backup? Why is Sam Howell getting $2.5 to be a backup? Why is Case Keenum getting a $5.5 million deal? I just like is that Kyler Murray's agent's fault? Because I know he wanted to go to the Vikings. That was like, he made that known. He picked them over a couple other teams, and he was like, I want to go to Minnesota. I don't know. It's like confusing. It's not really something to talk about. I just like,
Right.
I just don't really get it.
I need to look into it. I believe it has something to do with the fact that because the Cardinals released him, they're still going to be paying out his contract.
Oh,
however many years they stretch it. So players like
Because he was on a
Tua,
big extension.
they might not be allowed to sign bigger contracts because then they'd be making like $80 million a year.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Okay.
But yeah, there are some ridiculous quarter. Like I think I saw like Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito got $7 million a year.
Yep.
Gardner Minshew got $7 million a year. Like
It's-
we're just throwing money out there.
I don't get it. But one more quarterback I want to address, Malik Willis to the Dolphins. I know a bunch of us said that was
you guys
what we
called it.
thought was going to happen. It was the like popular pick just because I feel like he would fit a Miami style of play.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also right now like the happiest I've ever been as a Dolphins hater. I just don't think this is a good environment for him to succeed.
Right. I could see that, and I didn't want him to go there for not for fit reasons, but for money reasons, and I still kind of stand by that here because I think them landing Malik Willis, what a win, right?
Yeah.
But I think you signing him to a 3-year contract, I think that's a mistake on their part.
I agree.
Because in my mind, if you're the Dolphins, what you should have done is you should have given Malik Willis a 1-year contract. You can up that, the AAV, right? Right now he's making like 22.5 a year. You could upgrade it, say 25. You can even say 1 year 30. You could say go out there, prove to us that you could be a starting quarterback. You ball out, we give you a contract, right?
Agreed.
Maybe you don't want to be too hasty with Tua, but now it's like Malik Willis. What if he doesn't pan out, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to cut and stretch another quarterback? Are you going to try to trade him when he doesn't really have any value? And I thought, that a lot of these teams, they're just giving out some generous bridge contracts because they're all competing for the 2027 quarterback class.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fit in Miami is just purely based off the fact that like they need a quarterback, he needs a place to shine, right?
Yeah.
And he does have some nice tools. Achane is nice.
That rushing attack is going to be
It's
scary,
nasty, right?
Because Ollie Gordon behind Achane too.
Right.
Like I saw him play that game I went to in Madrid.
Right.
He's good.
He's not. He's
good.
Like a bruiser compliment
He
to
is.
Achane.
He is.
And they've got they've still got Waddle. They have some nice pieces, and they still have probably some residual coaches from the McDaniel era who say what you want about him as a head coach, but you can't deny how much.
Who's their new head coach again?
That's a great question. Oh, they have Jeff Hafley, the Packers.
That's right.
Defensive coordinator.
That's right.
Doesn't push the needle for me, but
Nah,
he
not
knows Malik Willis, right? Didn't coach the same side of the ball, but at least he's familiar with him, right? I'm sure that played a factor in why Malik Willis went there.
Yep.
But that's kind of a longer answer to your question to say I like the opportunity he's gonna get. Really don't like the contract they gave him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's putting a little bit too much faith in someone who has, I think, maybe 4 career wins over the past 2 years, like since he got to Green Bay. And he's looked good in those games, don't get me wrong. But, that's Green Bay. That's a Matt LaFleur offense. That's a team that, has run a similar style of successful offense for years now, and he kind of just slotted himself in and gave them that kind of rushing threat that they can kind of open up the playbook a little bit more. The Dolphins, it's a little bit up in the air, but we'll see. It's not like they're going to be a very exciting team anyways, but I'm just, happy that he gets a place to play because he's a fascinating player to watch.
Yeah.
And I think one more offensive player. I missed this one before when we were talking about receivers, but Mike Evans to the Niners. I love this deal. Absolutely love this deal. They got him for $14 million a year for 3 years. While I do think that contract is a little bit dragged out just because, these old receivers, like sometimes they taper off. But, God forbid the contract, goes to shit, then they can just trade him to the Titans. And it's
Right. Yeah. Obviously, 3 years on Mike Evans, not the best, but $14 million a year, he's still got juice, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like with the whole Brandon Ayuk scandal, with Ricky Pearsall in and out of the lineup, with Jawan Jennings probably not even cutting back, I feel like getting a stable guy like Mike Evans.
Yeah, Jennings hasn't signed yet, has
It's
he?
great. No, he's actually, I think ESPN lists him as the top remaining free agent available, which is how you know the first wave is passed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm totally with you. And
Yeah, he hasn't signed
basically a third of this is guaranteed.
Mm.
It's definitely going to be a contract constructed on incentives, so there's really not a lot of risk here. And think about it like this: if in 3 years, he's terrible, what is $14 million really going to matter in 3 years when the salary cap will have grown by 75 to probably 80 million, right? So I think this is a great signing for the Niners. I would have loved to see him go somewhere else where maybe his services are a little more needed.
I would say they're pretty needed.
No, they're
Well,
needed in the core, but they
McCaffrey
still do
needs them, that's
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
'Cause I
McCaffrey and Kittle have been kind of carrying everyone on their back. And I still believe in Ricky Pearsall, but I think this is kind of the veteran presence that this room needs.
I agree. I think the fit is honestly fantastic. They haven't really had a guy in years who, is going to be getting those 50-50 balls downfield. Like, you have Debo, who's kind of a gadget guy. You kind of throw him at different places in the field, but Debo's not going up 40 yards downfield and jumping over 2 corners. Mike Evans is doing that. Brandon Ayuk wasn't doing that. He's kind of a route technician. And I feel like Pearsall kind of falls somewhere in between the Ayuk and more like the Ayuk and Mike Evans mold, where like he's going to get those 50-50 balls. He has wonderful hands, and he's a decent route runner, but I do feel like they need like a good solid slot guy to get them in those short yard situations. But, they're the Niners. I have faith that they can figure something out, or even have someone already that they think can fit that mold. And I think that, God forbid everyone stays healthy, they could have a top 3 offense in the league. Because I'm a big Brock Purdy truther. Like, I think he's top 10. And
top 10.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
We might have to touch on
I'll pull up. You cannot list 10 quarterbacks better than him.
You think I can't list 10 quarterbacks better?
Josh Allen.
Ron.
Lamar.
2.
Not Drake May. No. Brock Purdy's been doing this.
It's a push.
Drake May put up an average Brock Purdy season. You can look at stats. You can look at team record. He put up an average Brock Purdy season. I'm not ready to put him up there yet. I need to see one more good year of Drake May, and then I'll be like,
keep going.
I'll keep going. Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Mahomes.
Yep. Herbert. Come on. No, you can't.
We'll come back.
You can't tell me.
Stafford.
Yep.
Caleb.
Really, Caleb? But we're not doing Drake May.
I think Caleb is so good. Dak.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I'd put Drake May and Caleb over.
I like say you put Drake May, that's 8.
Okay.
And then maybe Baker.
Baker, Hurts, Sam Darnold. That's 3.
Sam Darnold's not better. I don't think Sam Darnold's better.
No.
And I love Sam Darnold.
You can't do that. You can't do that. He just won a Super Bowl.
I love Sam Darnold. But you put Brock Purdy on that Seahawks team, he's probably winning that Super Bowl too.
No.
Yes. Sam Darnold, flourished in an outstanding system. But, I mean, look, Brock Purdy's been to 2 Super Bowls, or he's been to 1 Super Bowl. He should have went to 2 against that Eagles team if he didn't, break his hand in the first play. Hey, you know what? Different folks, different strokes. However, Jalen Hurts is still not better, and I'm going to die on that hill.
No. We could do a whole episode.
Bo Nix is better than Jalen Hurts. How about that?
Oh,
there we go. Now we're getting spicy. We'll save that for another time. And
Bo Nix is terrible. Bo Nix isn't even better than Brock Purdy.
Yeah, now we're just lying. But he's not better than Brock Purdy. But with that being said, we're going to wrap up for today. We covered about as much as we could with the NFL free agency. There's more moves on the defensive side of the ball that we could get into, but that kind of gets in a little bit more in the nitty gritty. So for now, we'll cut it here. But thank you once again for tuning in. If you're a new listener, thank you for joining us. And we hope you listen more in the future. Like I said at the start, we are part of the George Washington Sports Business Association, and anything you need, you can find at our Instagram at GWUSBA. So thank you once again, and take care.
Yeah, and stay tuned, guys. We have a couple events coming up soon. You can check our Instagram, like Casey said. But thank you for watching. Have a great one, guys.
Take care.